Hopefully it works this time. It didn't work for mine, so it's a good thing.
Do you have some sort of microphone on you?
No.
Okay. It says I'm live, so I must be live. Now, from this, I can't read if there's people in.
Right. I know. That's when we do this. I have to. Okay, we are.
I'm on. Okay. Good. I should have got a cup of coffee before I sat down.
You got one like already.
I got one like. All right. That means you want a cup of coffee too. All right. This is going to be a little different. I'm a little off the beaten path here. We're going to have Lee and Crystal from Hidden Creek Farm joining us at about 8:15, and that's generally when we have a pretty good group of people in. And I wanted to wait until we have maximum effect. Before I do that, though, I want to go over a couple of things. I mean, we've all been watching this whole thing unfold over the weekend. I did a video, I think Saturday, and you know, it occurred to me that there's a concerted effort going on. It appears to me. I could be way off. I don't think I am, though. But there seems to be a concerted effort to create hardship for the people in the state that I'm in. And I know this is going on in several other states as well. I'm hearing it. The governor of the state of Michigan ordered all non-essential items to be not sold in stores. And some of those things I'm sure everybody's heard by now is like at the like Home Depot, you know, where you go and buy plants, the nursery, you can't buy any flooring, can't buy paint, can't buy lawn furniture, can't buy charcoal briquettes, can't buy, you know, hoses, you can't buy nozzles, you know, that section. You kind of know the section if you go to Home Depot that's closed off. I don't really go to Walmart, so I don't know what they closed off there, but they have a big nursery section too. And like Myers here and Sam's Club and all that stuff, same thing. The governor of the state ordered all that stuff closed. She also put her little friends to work there at the DNR, and they're shutting down all the boat ramps. So you can't put your boat out and go fishing. I mean, you can if you want to go in a canoe or a kayak and you're just paddling, but you can't do it with a motor boat. And you know, close down all the landscapers, and most people are out of work. Most people are out of work. And so, you know, I'm watching this whole thing happen, and it just appears to me to just be just a psyop, just to irritate folks. And it is kind of irritating folks. It's irritating them enough that a bunch of people are getting together this Wednesday and heading down to Lansing and see if they can gridlock that place. I don't know enough about it, actually, so I can't really advise on it. I'm busy that day. I cannot go. It's my birthday. I'm going to stay here with my family. So I've been kind of told that it's happening, but I don't know enough about it. I don't know who originated it. I don't know if it's legit. I don't know if people are arming up to go down there. I just don't know enough about it. So I'm not going to be able to comment on that very much. That's as much as I can comment right there. But I can't really offer any kind of guidance as far as let's all do this. Let's all call the governor's office. And I don't feel right now in my gut that this is a long ongoing thing. I think this is going to end relatively shortly. And it's just going to reflect on that governor, you know, what she decided to do, her and her, you know, parasitic ilk decided to do. I think it's obvious. To me, it's obvious. I've heard people try and defend her, but they sound absolutely stupid. Oh, it's for your safety. You know, it's just more of the same garbage. But here's one thing that I think would make some sense to do, and she wouldn't understand this because she doesn't really, she thinks she can break Americans very quickly. But what you have to do when you're dealing with those tactics is you have to work around them, and you can very quickly. So we went and looked around. This was a while ago. Jill did this, and she went and she got me some seeds. Now there's more here than I'm going to need, so I'm going to pass on what I don't need. That's one thing we can do. We can share some seeds. I got lots. I know Bryce has got lots. So contact other people within the tribe and see what they got. And people of the tribe, maybe you could post, say, I'm done planning and I have this, it's available. And then as a long-term fix on this, long-term fix, start saving seeds. Well, I don't know how to save seeds. Well, have you ever like eaten an apple and you get down to the core and then you get one of those pesky little brown things? That's a seed right there. If you take that seed. Yeah, I gotta put my other microphone in.
Yeah, we're getting rolling with it.
Are we getting scrolling? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you take that seed and you dry it, and you don't want it to dry completely out, so don't put it on a heater or anything like that. And then just, slip them in a bag that's well ventilated and put it someplace kind of dark and cool. You will have saved the seed. And it's like that with most of the seeds that you're going to want to save. Okay, so I'm not going to go through a seed saving protocol at this time because it would take a while. It's like if we talk about gardening, there's so many different facets to it. There's greenhousing, there's outside, there's your own starts, there's buying, there's so many facets to it. But you see what was attacked that was yours. Okay, she tipped her hand, not just her ilk, right? They tipped their hand. They're coming for your food. All right, prove me wrong here. Oh, she just doesn't want people working in the garden because they want social distance, because they're hippies and they like to hug. Is that it? Come on. No, you can't defend this. And I'm not saying let's all just impeach this person because there'll be another one behind her. But what you need to do is do the workaround so that it can't happen to you again. It can't happen. You don't want to wait until now to procure the things that you need to maintain your freedom and your safety. You don't want to have to wait till now. You should have done that years ago. It's the same thing with your food growing operation. If you haven't secured that, do it. Get it secure. And then fortify that position every day, every season, every chance you get. When you're over at a friend's house, oh, if you got any extra seeds, you only need, a few seeds really to get going on anything. It doesn't take a whole packet of seeds like this. Jill got this for me, and this is 1/4 pound of sugar snaps, peas, and there's way more than I would probably use in a season. And it was $1.50, and when this crop comes in, we can save these. And we'll have as many as we want, and then we can start sharing them. Now, I'm not saying don't do business with nurseries, do your own. I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying, like, we have a nice co-op in town. We have Evil's general store, and they go out of their way to buy this stuff in bulk and then break it down into packages like this. And I think that's an outstanding thing. What if they got short-circuited though? What if, So I buy from them so they'll continue to buy to put it on the shelf. I want them to continue to make money doing it. But I also want to become sufficient in this. I mean, maybe what they could do is they could contract with farmers locally, which would be a great thing if the Evils wanted to do that. Contract with people locally And maybe they do. I'm not sure. I never checked with them. Hey, where'd these seeds come from? I haven't done that. But anyway, that's today's helpful hint. And as we've been talking lately about this whole thing, the shutdown, which I believe is going to come to an end here soon. I listened to the president's briefing today, and he indicated that it's going to be coming to an end. A lot of the governors don't want it because they want it seems as though they want people to feel the pain, right? It just seems that way to me. And if somebody thinks I'm wrong and they want to call in and straighten me out, I'd love to hear it. But anything I've heard so far has been weak at best. Right? Weak at best. All right. So tonight we're going to have on Lee and Crystal. They're going to come in at 8:15, and let me give you a little bit of backstory on this situation. It would have been about a year ago. Is that right, Joe? When we first,
Could be.
I think it was about last spring. And they have a farm down in Muskegon County. This is in Michigan. It's south of me, about an hour and 15 minutes or so. It's like all deer trails getting there, so you can't drive straight there. But it's a 20-acre place, and they've done really great things with it. It's. I'm not easily impressed when it comes to farms, but this place is really uptight. I mean, it's clean, it's dry, it's serviceable, very neat, very tidy, laid out really well, nice parking area when you come in, trees hanging down over the driveway as you come in, as I recall. I've been there twice now. Nice house, kind of set back on the property, a pond behind that, barns off to the left, and they have a little store there where you can go in and pick up the eggs that you want, pick up the goat milk, pick up the vegetables or any of the meat that they have in their cooler. And they do a CSA model. And it's really neat. They have a lot of people that rely on them for a good share of their food. Well, about a year ago, the neighbor, who had been pretty good friends with them, even was invited to their wedding, actually, just decided he did not want them farming next door to him. And he went to the township, and this is Dalton Township, the infamous Dalton Township. He went to them and complained. And when the township heard of this, the township went sort of a different direction, as I understand it, and said, hey, wait a minute. They never asked us if they could farm. We didn't even know they were doing it. To which I would respond, it's none of your damn business what we're doing on our own property, so long as we're not breaking the law, right? But Dalton Township, it's a very, very much in line with the overreaching governor that we have in the state right now, is very much into controlling the people via permitting. So the Dalton Township people, supervisors, name's Tony Barnes, actually called Crystal and said, hey, come, we'd like to have a word with you. And her being a younger person that hasn't dealt with government, went right down to the township office and presented herself. Personally, I would have told them, if you want to talk to me, I'll be available at my break time, and I'll meet you at the end of the driveway, and you got 5 minutes. That's what I would have said to him. But she went down there, and they brought her in a room, shut the door, and 3 adults and her. And what they tried to do was get her to buy permits to have plant sales, which was coming up. It was right around Mother's Day. So when's that coming? Is that coming now? In May? Okay, so it's right around this time. Holy smokes, it's snowing outside. Again, it's blowing sideways here. And she said, no, I don't want to. And she got up and she left. And then she was summoned to the courthouse. And so they kind of have a little group down there that seems to prey on people's ignorance of how things work. And they use threats and intimidation to get
my microphone off. Is this going to work without my earbuds in?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just better with them, but it works with
All
them.
right. Well, maybe I'll put them back in a minute, but they have to charge up a little bit. And so anyway, I heard from her, and she called me on the phone, and about halfway through the phone call, just couldn't keep it together, and called back, told me what had happened, and I said, well, you know, I really kind of need a little bit more information. She said, me and my husband will drive up tonight, and they did, and we sat and talked, and I assessed their character as being genuine in what they were saying, because a lot of times people have problems, and when they tell you what the problem was, it's not, they leave things out, you know, and you have to be careful that you don't hang your reputation out there defending them if you haven't heard the whole thing. So I said, well, you know, I'd kind of like to know more about it. The more I heard, the more I didn't like it. And so the next night, Jill and I drove down to their farm just to look around and see what was really going on there. And that's when we were very impressed to see what a nice place it was. And got to meet her mother and several of the patrons that go there, moms, they were mothers too. I said, they're the ones you don't want to mess with, right? And Jill and I decided that, you know, we need to put our support behind them, because these are the people that we need more of in this country, not less of. And the morons at the township office really don't like people like them. They prefer sheep that'll just get in line and do what they're told. Anyway, they continued their farming operation. We made a video, put it out there, got a lot of people stirred up about it. A lot of phone calls were made to the township office, and the township office realized very quickly that they were being exposed for who they were, and the township backed off. But the neighbor, the original guy that started the whole thing, he leveled a lawsuit against them. Now, in our society, you know, I think people believe that if you want to level a lawsuit, then you have to have a legitimate reason to do that. That's not true. You can pay a lawyer to do the paperwork and file with the court to get you to do something or stop doing something. And then you play this game of, well, will the judge side with me or side against me? And unfortunately, in some of our county courts, it's not always based on what is truly right or truly constitutional or truly correct by our standards of American humanity, I guess we'll call it. And in this case, unfortunately, the ruling came back last Thursday that the judge's opinion was that they did not meet the threshold of safe and equitable farming. And I'm going to let you guys, I'm going to, when they come, I'm going to have them explain to you how this whole thing was framed up. There was one organization, last time I didn't bring them in, and I apologize because I just spaced it. But Lee and Crystal needed legal representation because they were being sued. And they turned to Farm to Consumer Legal Defense Fund. And it took a little while, but before long, Farm to Consumer did hire a lawyer here in the state of Michigan, and you know, away it went. I mean, there was a date set for trial, and there was a lot of briefings that went back and forth, and as soon as that starts, it was out of the hands of any of the people. So then you had his lawyer and Lee and Crystal's lawyer that were going to decide what they were going to present to the judge. And they presented to the judge data that they thought was consistent with a law that we have here in the state of Michigan. It's called the Right to Farm Act. And it is truly a law. It is a law. Okay. I have never been a big fan of Right to Farm Act because I endured a legal battle with the state, and Right to Farm didn't protect me at all. I mean, not at all. Didn't even begin to protect me. Our lawyers didn't even want to look at it. And we prevailed mostly because we had the U.S. Constitution on our side. And that's why I'm not a big fan of the Right to Farm Act, but I'm gonna let them tell you about that. But right up front, you guys probably know I'm not a big fan of it because I believe that it is redundant to the Fifth Amendment. And I think that just creates confusion. And I see no reason for redundancy when it comes to the Constitution, right? It's sort of like, well, let's just leave it right there. So they're going to come on and they're going to tell what happened. And then I'm going to have some questions for them as far as, okay, where are we going now? What kind of help do you need? What do you think's going to happen? What's your opinion of it? Things like that. But while we're doing this, if you guys have some constructive criticism, you have some constructive questions, fire them in. And I have Jill sitting by my side here on the laptop. This is pretty important. This is pretty important because if we have a law, a state law, that we've spent a lot of money getting in line to protect farmers, and then some county judge can say, I don't agree, and fine for the person who has sued somebody who, not only do they have a God-given right to produce food, they have a right that is enumerated in the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which we found was the supreme law of the land. But then this judge decides he's not going to do that. Are they ready?
Yeah, you can't see them?
No, I can't see him.
Oh, you should be able to see them.
No, I see a cup of coffee sitting there.
No, why are they not? Let's see.
Okay, so Jill says that she's going to bring them in, and I'm going to welcome them.
Okay, now they're unmuted.
Hey.
Hi.
There they are. There they are. That's what I want to see. I want to
Sorry
see them
about that,
smiling
guys.
faces.
How's
All right,
it going?
how you guys doing?
Doing good. We're
Can you
getting,
hear me?
yeah, we can hear you.
Something's wrong, Joe.
Um,
We're going to find out here that the audience
Did
hasn't
they
heard a
turn
word.
their audio on? Because they're unmuted.
No, they're not hearing me.
There they go.
Oh,
Now I see
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Now I can't hear them. Maybe I need to turn my thing up. How about now?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Yeah,
I can barely hear you,
Uh-oh.
but I know
Where's your
I'm pretty
voice ones?
pretty sure that the audience can hear us.
Yeah.
I got an earbud in that's partially charged. How about now?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I can hear you really good now.
Okay.
Really good. Well, it's good to see your smiling faces. I'm seeing a shift. Honestly, I mean, it just as soon as you came on, it was like boom, this big shift in attitudes. So let me talk to the audience a little bit and tell them where I came down on this after the last foray. All right. I got a phone call from Crystal and Lee. That was Thursday, wasn't it? Last Thursday?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Thursday. And they said that the judge had found, his opinion was that they had not met the criteria, and that he was recommending that they no longer farm their property. And, you know, my blood pressure went right up as soon as I heard it. But then another part of me kind of kicked in, and I've been watching the process that people go through when they're fighting, and you're in that fight and flight mode. And as I thought about it, and I'll be honest with you, I talked with your mom, Crystal's mom, and I kind of had a protective moment, and I actually felt like, let's get them out of there. Let's get them someplace safe where they can just farm.
Yeah.
And we had a conference the next day,
Yep.
Lee, Crystal, and I, and Jill, and I made it pretty clear to them that I thought that I didn't know if this fight is worth it, that they probably ought to move on to a property that's a little bit bigger and would suit their needs later on. And I said it, I felt it, but I went away from the conversation thinking, I think they're gonna probably fight it, and I need to accept that. I think
Yeah.
I really need to accept that. And so I talked to them, what, it would have been Friday maybe, or
Yeah.
was it?
That
No,
was, it was,
Saturday. I think it was Saturday. And
yeah. Something like that. I think it was
What I
Friday.
said.
Saturday. I don't know.
okay. Well, on Saturday I said, you know, I've not reconsidered what I said. I would be tickled if you did just move on with this, but I would totally understand if you want to defend your home, defend your nest. And so as it stands right now, I really don't know what you're going to do. So you're going to be telling what happened. I've kind of introduced you a little bit. And I think people need to hear this, because the listening audience can put themselves in your place. You know, a lot of us want to farm, grow our own food, but there's this little nagging thing out there that you're going to get a knock on the door someday. And as somebody who's gone through it, I look back on those opportunistic parasites that have a tendency to want to knock on the door and tell you what you can and can't do with a lot of anger. You know, I think they really have no place in American lifestyle. The production of food is really where wealth begins, and I don't think there should be anyone who can tell us if we can farm or not. This isn't a anyone can farm. This is a anyone should farm, or everyone should farm. And now we're in this predicament with the China virus, and we're looking at the food supply blinking, you know, like warning. And now we've got a judge that says, well, I don't think that you should farm. You've got a lot of patrons that depend on you for food. And now we've got a judge that has decided that you shouldn't farm. So I don't want to say too much more. I want you guys to get it out there. What exactly happened? And can you start it? Maybe, you know, when you got that first knock on the door, could you start it there? I know we went through this before, but kind of run through that quick and just bring people up to speed, please.
So you want us to start from the very beginning when we first learned about everything, or?
It's like a summary.
No, before that, tell me how long you've been farming this place. We've got new people now. I know we did an interview before, but we've got new people. So how long have you been farming this property? Where is it? What was the original dream? Why are you doing this? All that type of thing.
Okay,
Fill us in.
so we moved here in 2014 in December, and we started farming in 2015. We began working on our meat verification, right away. The dream was that dream is that Lee and I would be able to work together as husband and wife on our own land, and provide beautiful food and products to better other people's lives. And that's still the dream. We still want to continue to do that. Is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I mean, that's what we're trying to do.
We're trying to do all good things. Last Thursday, we found out that the judge disagrees, and he feels that we do not have the right to farm this property. So that was a surprise. We had heard a lot of people say that, have heard this judge's rulings in the past, and some of them kind of know him personally a little bit. They said, he's a very fair judge. He doesn't stand up to bullies and all this kind of stuff. So a lot of people thought, oh, you guys will be fine, no problem. This judge is going to see through this neighbor and rule in your favor. So when we got the call on Thursday, we were surprised to hear that that was not the case, and that he had ruled in favor of our neighbor. But in the beginning, the neighbor was friendly. He did help us in the garden. He lent us like a post hole digger, just little things like that. And you'd see him every once in a while outside when we were outside, wave or whatever, be neighborly. So we're not sure like exactly when the shift happened. So the whole lawsuit itself was a surprise in the beginning, kind of shocking. We were both very scared. Never been through a situation like that. So we're very thankful for all the communities and people that step forward and help support us, because I don't think we would have been able to make it through that by ourselves without having all the people behind us, to kind of guide us through that situation in the beginning. So we want to say thank you very much to everybody, and we hope that you'll continue to support us through the end of this. It's very unfortunate, nobody asks for this to happen to them, especially when you invest so much time into a state certification, that you believe is supposed to prevent things like this from happening. So just the fact that the neighbor's lawyer has been to nitpick the state's intention through the certification and get this much grounds on us, is surprising. Do you want to add anything to that before?
Well, I don't know. I guess I did see a comment on the thing. Haven, he said something about it's kind of coming down to, this livestock facility and livestock production facility. They're nitpicking between some words and some I guess, I don't know, from what I read, I thought it, let me bring it up.
I'm gonna bring up a
I think
definition.
they're saying, livestock facility, the definition underneath the GAMPS is any facility where livestock are kept regardless of the number of animals. It says nothing about pasture or anything. Randy said something about it might be farther down. I can't remember.
Well, the issue right now, the way that this judge has ruled against us is because of some formalities in the wording of the GAMPs. And the state is aware of most of this from what I understand. And I went to the commission last year and I showed them our lawsuit, and they were very open, and they listened, and they actually did make changes right there that weren't even like on their schedule. So they did take some time and they listened to my story, and they made changes to the GAMPs that helped us in that situation. And they were aware that there were other issues with the GAMPs that could cause problems in the future. So I feel like in the beginning, when this whole lawsuit started, there was a lot of fire around it. And, we got the township off of our case here, which we're very thankful for. And then, time kind of went on. People have their own lives. There wasn't a lot of there wasn't a lot of new news to be said, you know, so it kind of fizzled out a little bit. And now
Yeah.
all of a sudden we have COVID-19 going on. A lot of things are unsure. People are worried about food sources, and small farms are more important now than ever. You know, we need these small farms
Amen.
located in these residential areas to help our community. So if that big food system does fail, people have options, and
Yeah.
the hysteria around where am I going to find my dinner at is going to be lessened. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, all the small farms just in Michigan can make a huge impact on the food system. And a lot of the small farmers that I know personally right now are planting, you know, huge crops, and we're doing just things to get anything in the ground right now. We're putting frost cloth on stuff in our greenhouse. You know, it's a little early to plant a lot of things, but I know a lot of farms are taking those extra measures to get stuff in the ground now and protect it, so we can have
Yeah.
earlier crops in the spring and guarantee people that we have food, it's coming. You know, try not to worry. We're working very hard to feed everybody in Michigan. So
Yeah.
so, you know, there's a lot going on. So I think it's a terrible time for this judge to make his ruling. And I think that basing his ruling off the definition of Webster's dictionary was not a very wise choice. And him leaving the state out of his decision totally was not a very wise choice. I believe that this is an opportunity for the state to see some informalities in the GAMPs and how it's affecting people's lives directly, because I'm smiling right now and I'm talking to you, but the behind the scenes part is very difficult, you know, so there's tears and there's very hard days.
Yeah.
So I know the people that have been through that know that, and you don't have to, you know, say that to them. But I think, you know, that it's good to let the state and all these people know that there's a lot of people depending on these laws that you're making and these rules and these decisions that you're making. People are affected by this directly. So what we're asking is for people to contact numbers that we have, state of Michigan and governors and things. We can share that. I don't know how you want us to share it, but
Maybe on the tribe.
Okay.
I think the tribe would be the place for it.
Okay.
I was going to
Well, just-
recommend that.
That's what we were saying, you know, like we put all this money and effort into these laws that are made. How can a judge just change that? I mean,
Yeah.
You know, that's what this country is built on, is laws. So, I mean,
Right.
if we can't follow the laws, or even if we do follow laws, how can we still get in trouble? You know,
Yeah.
how can
Yeah.
everything we've worked for the last 5 years be threatened to be taken away from us, especially when we're just trying to grow food for people? You know, I mean, being a farmer in itself is a very selfless thing to do. You're constantly concerned about other things and not yourself, you know, so all your animals that need to be taken care of, all the people in your
Yeah.
community, you know, it's a very selfless undertaking in itself. So, you know, the big dispute, that the thing that the neighbor's lawyer has gotten grounds on is the definition of site is kind of like where things got hung up in the GAMPs. So what the neighbor's lawyer is saying is that since we pasture raise all of our animals, so they're using that against us, is the fact that we pasture raise. So since our goats are going out to all the corners of our property and grazing in the woods and grazing our pastures, and they're depositing manure, they are saying that all of our property should be considered a livestock facility, but that is not the way that the state of Michigan measures They measure from like your barn, which would be usually where there's a larger accumulation of manure, right? So there would be
Yeah.
a bigger chance of that area letting off a foul odor or something. So if this judge's ruling is upheld and becomes case law, that would have the potential to open up thousands of other farms in Michigan
Yeah.
to litigation, not just Hidden Creek Farms. So I just want people to really realize that, because I know people right now that are getting certified through the state, and that process took us 2 years, which is another thing that I want to kind of emphasize. It's not like you just apply for this and a week later you get a certificate in the mail or something, you know, I mean, there's a lot of processes that you have to go through to become state certified, whether or not people like that or not, you know, I mean, there is like a lot of things you have to go through, pesticides and fire safety of an emergency plan, manure management. So there's a lot to it.
Right.
And I don't know, we're just looking for some help in this case. It's all a little bit confusing, you know, too sometimes. We just you know, you try to do all this good and then these things kind of follow. But I think that
Yeah.
even if we moved, that's not going to fix everything. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Things are still going to come at us that are wanting to take away our good and what we're doing. So
Yeah, I agree. So do you think that the state certified you? So now the judge thinks that certification is no good. So is his problem with you, or is it with the certification process that the state gave?
Right, exactly. So his problem is with the state of Michigan, but they're using us as their puppet, I guess. You know, they're trying to go around the state and put the problems on our farm, when if they really wanted to do the right thing, they would sue the state of Michigan.
Yeah. So does the state of Michigan have like a Right to Farm Act office or something like that? Is there some person, a point of contact?
Oh yeah, you know, you can talk to Ben Terrell as the manager currently.
Because tell me about that office. Tell me a little bit about it. Like, is it a facet of a bigger office, or is it its own entity? Like, do they have several employees, one employee, what?
I don't know. I can't answer that question. I'm not sure.
But there is a guy that it's his full-time job to handle. What's his position? Do you know what his handle is?
Ben is the manager. I know he used to be a sheep farmer somewhere in Michigan. They used to do dairy products and cheese, I believe. I don't know if he's still farming. I know he still had some livestock when he was here.
But he works for the state though, right? No?
Yes. Yeah.
And he manages what? The Right to Farm Act office?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. So are you going to include his phone number
Yes.
on the tribe? Yeah.
Yes.
That would be an interesting phone call, I would think. I'll probably make that phone call myself, right?
He called me soon after I had sent him a copy of the judge's ruling.
Yeah.
And he understood that there was a lot at stake here, as far as, you know, if this court order sticks, then there's going to be a lot of farms in Michigan, thousands. You know, he said it himself. There'd be thousands of farms in Michigan that would be open to litigation. They have measured farms that way for over 20 years. So
yeah. So you guys, you got a problem, right? You got a problem, but they got kind of a bigger problem, don't they?
yeah.
Because they've been going around certifying farms, putting that, they've been actually, they wanted to certify my place, right?
Mhm.
But I didn't see it. I just couldn't see where I needed their protection because I had the Fifth Amendment to the US Constitution. I mean, anybody can sue you, but I didn't see where having their certification was going to protect me. And now we're seeing with you guys that their certification is, it's kind of, we're not sure if it's going to protect you. It might, I mean,
Yeah.
because they seem to have a lot of motivation right now, especially with everybody seeing this. And that's one of the things here, folks. This needs to circulate, all right? This needs exposure. If these guys are going to certify a farm and say, okay, Lee and Crystal, go ahead and pour your heart and soul into this property. We're certifying that you're doing things properly, and we will stand behind you if there's a lawsuit. They've got a bigger problem than you do, don't they?
Right.
Yeah, 'cause because this can affect not just small farms, but like the big farms that are,
Right.
that have
That's
been,
what I'm thinking.
yeah, that,
Right, this
that,
isn't just small farms, this is
No,
all
no,
farms.
I agree.
mean,
I agree.
even
I
if we
agree with
might
you.
not like the big farms, I mean, it
Yeah.
still is gonna affect them, and they are ones that are hard drivers on some of this stuff, so,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, it can hurt. I mean, even if, the big farms, if we don't like them or whatnot, they still do produce food for people, so,
Sure.
I
And
mean,
they're legal. I mean, just because we don't like it
yeah,
doesn't mean that we're going to sue them just because we don't like it.
yeah,
Right?
no,
We don't,
yep.
your neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about your neighbor. I just don't understand. I'll just bring the audience up to speed here. Like I said, Jill and I went down to Crystal and Lee's. And when we drove down that driveway, I thought, this guy suing these kids is out of his mind, because this
agree.
place could, there could be junk cars, there could be trash land, there could be barking dogs, hound dogs, there could be a number of things really bad. But when Jill and I drove down the driveway, I was like, I'd like to stay here. I like this. This is nice here. And I was impressed.
Have you over for bed and breakfast.
There you go. There you go.
But
I think
I think the neighbor's lawyer did a good job of painting a negative picture. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got a phone call that came in.
Okay, I was just saying, I think the neighbor's lawyer did a really good job at painting a negative picture of our farm, because the judge has never been here before, so he's only seen what each side has provided to him. And we had talked about having the judge out here, but it didn't happen in time. COVID-19 came around, and then it wasn't going to work for him to come out to the farm anymore. So it was kind of unfortunate. I don't know if it would have changed his mind at all, but it would have been nice to have him out here, because he is local. He does not live that far away from us. So you would think he would have driven past before. And even honestly, Tony Barnes from Dalton Township, he said, well, it's a very nice farm. It's very appealing to the eye. He even said that himself. So, and everybody that comes here, I have one customer, or one good friend, and she says, every time I drive up your driveway, I just want to cry because it's so beautiful, and she gets like teary-eyed about it. So, if we had to move, it would be really detrimental to us. Lee was we're just kind of getting comfy with the idea that maybe we've got a big enough customer base now where we can look into the possibility of Lee being here full time, and we can fulfill that dream, that we've been working so hard. We're very hard workers. You can ask anybody that's known us, even through our teens and our childhood. We're a little bit tenacious. We got goals and we want to get stuff done, and
I've heard that.
We're not hurting anybody. So why are we being harassed? Yeah.
Just, you know what? I don't know this for a fact, but I have heard some things about the judge, because I think as soon as I heard this, I thought, that jerk, but it could be that through this appeal process, we're really gonna like hammer down this right to farm act. You know, like when you're making a sword or you're making something out of steel, you bend it and you hammer it, and then you heat it, and you bend it again and hammer it. And every time you do that, it works the dross out of it,
Imperfections.
you know,
Right.
and it
Yeah.
makes it stronger and stronger.
Right.
So maybe the judge is like, here's the only thing that I see in this case that is sort of a problem. So I'm going to cite this and I'm just going to give my opinion on this. You prove it wrong. And you never know. I mean, I think the state has more to lose than you do in this, because there's been a lot of taxpayers' dollars that have been spent on right to farm. And if they can't defend Hidden Creek Farm, then they've mismanaged our resources that we've given them. So I think they have a much bigger problem than you do, and I wish them luck. I really do. And I got a good feeling about this now. And you know what changed the feeling for me was seeing smiling faces coming on, because
Okay.
I didn't. It really. I was a little worried that, because I know a thing like this, you go to sleep with it, you wake up with it in the morning, and then you have animals that don't do well, or crops that die, or customers that run over, you know, flower beds or something. And it's just, it can wear on a person.
Oh, yeah.
But when this is over, you'll be very hardened to some of this stuff, and you'll be better farmers for it. So I think you're doing the right thing. Where are we at right now?
Right now, we're waiting to hear back details from the judge. So,
It's like actual like final orders. I mean, this is like, what does it say on this paper? It says this is the order. It says of a opinion of the summary disposition. So I mean, this is just outlining what he his opinion on the whole case, in which it ended up saying, you know, we're denied of our summary disposition, which would mean that we would prevail. So he's siding with the neighbor. So now we're just waiting on his final like ruling or orders of, you know, if we have to cease and desist.
right. So from what our lawyers are saying, that would be the next thing that we'll see is a cease and desist order, where we would have a certain amount of time to sell all of our animals, you know, discontinue farming on the property. So our next thing would be, we need to appeal at the state level. So we are looking into other options too. I mean, we're looking into all options. Okay, we've been looking at properties just in case we need to move. You know, there's a lot of things going on right now though. You're like, selling our house. Okay, so our house is set up as a farm. Are we going to have someone else buy this property as a farm, and then the same thing happens to them? You know, we'd have to totally rearrange what we have here to make it look just like a house in the country with property. You know, that in itself is a ton of work. And another thing, you know, with COVID-19, is the economy. Are people going to be buying houses? You know, is our house going to depreciate in value from what we purchased it at? And then another thing, all the properties we've looked at are going to be either way north, way east, or way south, because everything kind of around us is too expensive at this time for our budget, you know, and it would all be fixer upper type properties. So if we are served a cease and desist, then we would file what is called a stay, which means that we can continue to do our practices on this property until the appeal process is over.
Is complete.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of the risks of an appeal, if we lose an appeal, then that would open the neighbor back up to be able to kind of then the fees that he asked for $75,000 in the beginning of his lawsuit, it would open us back up to possibly having to pay him. So that's one of the kind of risks of the appeal process.
I think right now
we haven't heard anything back about money. So it sounds like I don't know if I'm able to discuss all this because it's not,
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
it's not,
Yeah, it's ongoing,
if-
so,
if you're unsure, just leave it out.
yeah, we'll just leave it
Yeah.
out.
But it sounds like you've got a direction and,
what we really need is people to call these numbers. I mean, we're asking the state to fix this mistake because it's gonna affect a lot more farms and a lot more people than just Hidden Creek Farms at this point. And, you know, if we have to go through this terrible thing to better the process and harden the sword, then that's fine. I'm fine with that. I'm not saying it's fun. I'm not saying it's easy, but here we are, and I'm willing to go through this to hopefully better the future of other farms in Michigan.
well said. Well said. I'm proud of you. It's not easy to do that.
No,
Yep.
it's not.
It's not easy.
But you know, you have helped us a lot, especially in the confidence area. I mean, it's very kind of relieving to speak with someone that has gone through the process before and kind of guide you through it and be like, you're okay. You know, you're not, nothing's going to happen to you. And just kind of give you ideas of maybe possible things that could come up in the future and everything. You know, everybody has
Yeah.
been very helpful, even just in ideas of how maybe we can change the neighbor's opinion on us or work with him, you know. So just everything has been good as far as people trying to help and support us, and we're very appreciative of that.
Yeah.
Very appreciative.
Okay, I do have a question here, I think. Let's see, who's this from? This is from Haven, the zoo. They're farmers up here. Did all this start as a nuisance complaint?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It did.
Yeah, I think you know, you were talking about the plant sale. I think that was like maybe his final straw where he
Yeah.
put in. I think he was already working on a lawsuit because most of his lawsuit isn't even really about the plant sale. But I think that was his final nail that he wanted to hit, you know, that
Yeah,
drove it home for him, and then unleashed the news. It was a nuisance lawsuit for I think the odor and noise or something like that. Like,
okay.
Basically ruined his life. He can't even go outside anymore, and you know, so
Yeah, you
We
ruined
just-
his life, all right.
we're terrible. We're doing terrible things, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you should find some, if you do sell it, you should be a little bit judicious and sell it to somebody that builds race cars or likes to
Right.
hunt with hounds. You know, you
Yeah.
can have like 14 dogs, I think, is what
Yeah.
you can have.
Right.
And
You
there's nothing they can do about that.
You can have a lot of horses in Dalton Township, so we'll just find someone that hunts foxes for a living, and they can
So,
move in. Yeah.
I got a question. If you could kind of flesh out for me, I mean, I see it a certain way, but I'm not sure if everybody else sees it this way, but I know I'm going to get these questions. Okay. I mentioned before that the Right to Farm Act, and when it says act, that means that it's a law. It went through the legislature and was signed into law by the governor. I think it was 1994 that happened, if my memory serves correctly. So it is a law. It is state law.
Mhm.
It would appear that it's redundant to the Fifth Amendment. Do you see that?
Yeah, I mean, you should have a natural right to do as you please on your property. We're not harming anybody, you know. So, you know,
So, well,
I want to use an example. So, so someone came. They're trying to use this example against me. Is it all right if I use this example?
yeah, well, Ken's lawyer tried to use this example against you.
Yeah, Ken's lawyer also tried to use this example against me, and he didn't like my reply. So he said, if Bayer Crop Science if they moved in next to you and they put up, you know, their crop science plant, how would you feel about that? And I said, I wouldn't like it. I would move. you know, and then, so in that example, but we would be Bayer Crop Science and Ken would move, you know, if you don't like what your neighbor's doing, put up a fence, you know, if you think it affects your life so bad, then move, you know. A junkyard doesn't hurt anybody. If someone wants to have 100 cars sitting around, you know, that's just, I don't know. I think people fight over some silly things sometimes, so.
Yeah. Yeah, in this case, it really is silly because your farming operation, it's not noisy. I mean, I didn't hear any noise.
No.
I didn't smell a thing. I really didn't. I mean, you might have had 15 pigs running there, but they were on pasture that was growing and
Right.
it wasn't a mucky mess.
So
Sure.
another thing that was kind of laughable was that we raised Tamworth pigs, okay? And they all look pretty much the same. They're all red, okay? So one of the things that Ken's lawyer had said was we've had the same pigs in the same spot for 2 years. That wasn't even possible because you know, we harvest pigs every year. They just saw red pigs and thought that we had the same exact pigs in the same exact spot for 2 years, you know? So
Yeah.
I don't know. They don't know anything about farming for one. So some of the things that they brought up were kind of ridiculous. You know, they're asking me if I sell illegal butter. You know, I milk goats. I don't make butter out of goat milk, you know, that's doesn't, you know, so,
It's
just,
irrelevant to the
it's
the
irrelevant
thing.
anyway.
You know,
it's just
could
irritating,
ask you if
though,
you
you know.
smoke dope too.
Yeah,
It's irrelevant
so,
to this.
right, they need to interject. They feel like they need to interject all those things to
Yeah.
weaken your case and make you look like a terrible person. So
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just irritating.
Isn't it kind of oh, I don't know, if you've been through a thing, like you've been through it now, I've been through it, you look back on it and the fear of going through it is probably worse than going through it, right?
Oh,
Now that you're this side of it,
yeah,
you kind of look back and say, yeah, that wasn't as big a deal as I thought it was going to be.
right. Right, and I just hope some really good things come out of this is what we hope.
Well, I think they already have.
Yeah.
The other day when I was trying to make my case to you that you should probably just kick the dirt of that place off your heels. Looking back on that now, I can say that I was wrong because I'm glad we're at this point right now. I really am glad that you're at this place now because I think you have a healthy respect for the system and the evil that men can do. You have a respect for that. And that's a good thing to have because we're stuck in this place. But I wrote down, you've already won this fight because the people that you need to worry about their opinion are the ones who can project their will on you. All right. So the judge he definitely can. So you have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Your neighbor, he really can't. This isn't him. But the people that you need to be most concerned with are the people that are watching you right now that are saying, wow, good on you. I'm so proud of you. I wish I could be in that position. Because if they're wishing they could be in that position, we're going to see more people standing up to this type of baloney, you know. So this is very important that you've done this, and your customers too. I know that your mom will probably put this out, and you guys will disseminate this to your network, and I think you should do that. And I would like to talk to your customers.
Yeah.
You know, you have a gem in Lee and Crystal and their farm. You really have a gem there. And I know when we went through our thing, a lot of people got scared to do business with us.
Right.
So it dried up our money supply.
Right.
And put us in a really bad position. But I would just ask your patrons, your customers,
Oh yeah.
pour out the love, man.
Oh yeah.
Pour out the love.
We're very transparent. We have a copy right now of all this information in our store right by, you know, our cash box is on an honor system, Mark. So there's cash in there. People put their money in there. Nobody's watching it. All of our customers are on that system. So, you know, we have a good relationship with everybody here. If anybody ever did us wrong, then you can't be our customer anymore. That's how our operation works. So like I say, we have a copy of all these numbers in our farm store for people to call, and I've gotten information back from a lot of people today that said they called and they actually were talking to Greg Van Workum, and they were talking to Ben Terrell personally. One of our friends actually just moved to Michigan from Arizona to start a farm because it's a lot harder to farm in Arizona. So they just moved here. I think it was around Christmas time, and she's going through this state process right now because she has neighbors just like we do, and she needs that protection she feels from something like this happening to her. And she's been following our case very closely. You know, they have 3 young children.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Oh,
she-
yeah, I
they have a
talked
new-
to her.
Yeah, Meredith. Her name's Meredith. Maybe
No, I
not.
didn't talk to her.
Okay. But, maybe Marie talked to you, but, you know, a lot of our customers have young
Yeah.
children, and a lot of them have gone through the conventional health system and they've come out worse on the other side. So that's how they found us. You know, they've had cancer, diabetes, just severe things, digestive issues, you know, so they really are looking for us, you know. Like I have people, her daughter hasn't been able to eat eggs in 2 years because every time she would eat eggs, she'd break out in a severe allergic reaction. Well, guess what? She eats our eggs just fine, no severe allergic reaction. Can you imagine how happy that makes someone that hasn't
Yeah.
been able to eat eggs in years, you know?
That's why I say
Yeah.
you don't mess with the moms.
Yeah, so she said,
They're-
you can bet your ass I'm gonna be on the phone calling these numbers
Oh, yeah.
and asking them to do something about this. So that's all we're asking people to do is just call these numbers and talk to these people. You don't have
Yeah.
to be mean, you know, but
Be respectful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're at, you know, yeah, just be respectful,
don't,
because that's
you
not gonna
pay
help our
attention.
case any, you know, you gotta be respectful.
don't be
and-
afraid to ask hard questions though. You know, you need to ask the
Right.
hard questions, you know, so take a few minutes and write down some things that you want to know the answers to and ask these people these questions and see what kind of answer you get back. You know, does it sound like some kind of computer programmed answer, or are they actually talking to you as a person, you know, as a human being and giving you a respectable answer, you know? So,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, it's pretty clear to me that it almost seems like your neighbor is coming after you, but
Oh, yeah.
he's really going after your customers' children. That's what he's really going after, because
Yeah.
that's who it's going to affect ultimately. And that's why I say it's not a good idea to mess around with the mother bears. It's not a
Yeah,
good idea.
And I hope that, you know, the grandchildren that I see over there don't ever need a farm like us because, you know, God forbid if we have to leave, then they're out of luck because we won't be here
Yeah.
anymore, you know? So, I don't know, there's a
Yeah.
lot of things going on in the world, and small farms are very important. And I think people are starting to open their eyes to that, you know, that we need small farms, you know? So I just,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Great. What a good interview, man. What a
Yeah.
good interview. There's definitely a sense of urgency here. And I think people can see that you're the real thing. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on. I would just ask that you please post those phone
Yeah.
numbers.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to make a video and put it also on the tribe so I can explain it, because we have different groups meeting different times.
Yeah.
Have you got anything, Jill, that you'd like to add this, or did I miss anything?
Is there any
we
more
covered.
questions?
I have no more questions. I'm gonna
Okay.
let you go, and then I'm gonna just do a little follow up, and we'll call it good. And we'll be in touch.
Yeah.
All right.
Sound
Yeah.
all right?
Yeah, sounds
It's
good,
nice,
Mark.
nice to see your face and have a good conversation.
All right. Yeah,
Great.
it is good now. It is good. All right. We'll see you.
Okay.
Jill's gonna cut you off.
All right, see you, Jill. See you,
bye.
Mark.
All right. Bye bye.
I don't know how
And then
to-
I'm still on, right?
uh,
Okay, I'm still on. And I want to follow up on this without those guys, but they can hear me. That went a lot better than I thought it was going to go. And I thought it would go good, but it went even a lot better than that. I have a lot of stuff that's stuck in my craw over the whole thing. I'm really angry with some of these organizations and some of these people, but somehow I feel like this is going to turn out okay. And I'm optimistic for them. I don't think you can keep good people down. I really don't. And even if the worst came out of this and, the lawyers weren't able to get done what should be done here, which is kind of par for the course. And it turned out bad. These guys are still going to land on their feet. But I think at this point, I'd rather see them stay where they're at and then be able to purchase more land and expand their operation. They have no neighbors on the other side and directly across the road. And all of those people have come to their rescue and even written affidavits that their farm is not of any negative or deleterious concern to them or even the guy that's complaining. I think the guy that's complaining has some other problem, it seems like. I mean, he should be floored by the work ethic of these guys and then the attention to detail to keep it nice and keep it clean. And yeah, it's too bad, but I think this will turn out okay. Where are we at on time?
It's 9:13.
All right, so we're over. Tomorrow night, we're going to have Bryce on. Bryce has been in the tribe for a while. Bryce's last name is Mosher. It's spelled like Mosher, Mosher, I would say, but there's different pronunciations all over the place. But Bryce is in the cropping business, and he lives pretty close to me, and I've known him now for, I guess, about 5 years. And in the last couple of years, his operation has really come around. And this is going to be an interesting interview because I haven't really interviewed him. Whenever I go over there, it's because I am told to go over and do something or bring chickens over or something. And, he's busy and I'm busy. So we don't really, Bryce was in the Air Force too. So we talk Air Force things a little bit. Oh yeah. Can we get a thumbs up from everybody? That helps the algorithm for YouTube. And also, if you haven't liked it, please like it. And if you are not subscribed to Baker's Green Acres YouTube, please do that. I was told that like 49% of you are not, that actually come in and participate in this. That would really be helpful. Thanks for all the, was there super chats tonight? I can't see it from
Yeah, I
here.
had said that they'll go to Hidden Creek. So
Okay,
thank
well, that's
you,
cool.
Mary Hazelton, Minor Treat, and James P.
Awesome, you guys. Thanks a lot. We'll make sure it goes to the Hidden
That's
Creek people and their needs.
$80 going their way.
Wow. Thanks a lot, you guys. And if you meant it to come to me, you'll just have to donate it again. Yeah. But hey, that's the purpose of the tribe, is to be able to meet the needs of the small farms community. As I've said before, I'd like to grow the tribe to the same size as the National Rifle Association, because why shouldn't we have the authority that comes with a huge group of people? I mean, everybody that we're appealing to eats. And we, as you know, I'm not a big fan of factory farms, but I don't pick it in front of them. I think they should be allowed to exist. I mean, I'm not saying they shouldn't be allowed to exist. I just, I'm not satisfied with the way the state has gone through this process of certifying those operations as bulletproof from lawsuits, but then a small, gentle place like Lee and Crystal's place doesn't seem to be any protection there at all. We'll see. we'll see. I think the fight really is between Ken and the state of Michigan right now. So the state of Michigan, it seems like they have a lot of dogs in this fight. So we'll see what happens. I'm definitely optimistic though. All right. It should be fun tomorrow night when Bryce comes on. I need to know more about the type of farming that he does. So I'm looking forward to that. This went good tonight. I'm glad we did this. I guess we'll just press on from here. I have a little bit different screen here, so I'm not used to this. I can't really see myself. I just see this nice looking cup of coffee in the middle of the screen.
Oh.
You know that?
I don't know why that is.
Oh, okay. Well, we're about done. So I guess we'll be signing off. Mark from Baker's Green Acres, remember, anyone can farm. We'll see you tomorrow night. Good night.